Wickliffe has been working to reach these kinds of unreached tribes for decades. Bob, tell us about your work.
God's given us a huge privilege over the years to work in some of these very remote locations. We've been involved in over 700 New Testaments, potentially creating access to scriptures for 80 million people.
Well, some anthropologists say we shouldn't try to contact them, that outside influences can be harmful. What do you say?
It's just an honest disagreement in terms of how we approach the work. There are certain things that we do agree with. For example, we do believe that human rights are very important. We do believe that there are some injustices that need to be righted, like access to education is an injustice. We believe, because of our Christian perspective, that denying people access to scriptures is an injustice as well. We believe that the work we do actually preserves culture. We have a 70-year plus now history of doing work in communities like this. And what happens in communities when you're able to introduce a written language, people understand that their culture is valued by God, it actually improves the quality of life within these communities.
Well, in many cases, they don't have a written language, so Wickliffe is actually creating that for them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's very true, and there's still over 2,000 languages that still do not have a written form, and we're working actively with those 2,000 communities, trying to work actively with them to help them have access to education and access to scriptures.
Well, give us an example of the long-term impact of your work.
If you just take, for example, the Chamula community in southern Mexico in the state of Chiapas, if you go back and look at where that language community was at the beginning of that project and where they are today, that community was dominated by fear and alcoholism, and today they're leaders in their community, they're running for public office, they're business people. They're very much an important part of the larger community there in Chiapas. And if you go and talk to these people, what you find is they attribute the changes to Bible translation.
You might recall a few years ago the movie The Tip of the Spear talked about the martyrdom of 5 missionaries trying to reach a tribe in Ecuador 50 years ago. Is martyrdom still a risk?
That is very true. You're referring to the Warani incident, and yeah, there still is danger involved in all of this, and we still lose people to martyrdom from time to time. We recognize in God's sovereignty that these things are under His control, but that is true. It is still very dangerous at times.
Bob, why do you take such risks to reach these people?
Basically, our motivation is John 3:16. This is God's great love story for mankind. He loved us so much that He was willing to send His Son and provide for us a way to make our relationships right with Him through His Son, Jesus Christ. So our motivation has been the same as it has been since the beginning, as well as it has been since Jesus said, "Go into all the world," and that is that people need to have access. They have a right to have access to God in a language and a medium that they understand best.
Bob Creason, president of Wycliffe Bible Translators, thanks for joining us.
It's a privilege. Thanks for having me on.